high-performance UFOs are not a recent phenomenon. In this video, researchers Richard and Tracy Dolan describe an extended encounter in 1947 with an Air Force B-61 over Fukuoka, Japan, as a UFO maneuvered around the bomber in an aerial game of cat and mouse. Watch this entire video for a full description of the maneuvers.
This is the type of aircraft that was involved in the event that I'm going to just go into. And I've got a number of bullet points here I just want to go over. So this was 11 p.m. local time on October 15th. And I got two bullets here. So they encountered this object primarily on radar. They did get visuals of this thing too. So let me talk about the radar first. It had a radar return that was about equivalent to that of an ordinary aircraft. But it was this unknown thing. And they tried on 6 occasions to intercept this thing. So, the thing is this. So it was a classic cat and mouse encounter. So I'm going to find this with the Rapid City case that we're going to talk about in a little while. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Every time the radar man got a contact with this, he got it as a target. The pilot tried to close, and this object would just accelerate, sometimes very rapidly, and pass easily out of range. So you hear about this very frequently. This is a statement from the official report. This is a military report. The radar observer estimated that on 3 of the sightings, remember they had 6 encounters with this thing. On 3 of the sightings, the object traveled 7 miles in approximately 20 seconds, giving a speed of approximately 1,200 miles per hour. Now, these guys were flying at, I think, around 200 plus miles per hour, well under their maximum speed. I don't know how hard they went when they really punched it to try to close in on this thing, but this object was going triple their maximum speed on the best possible day. So I think that's really quite significant. Let me go on to the next. So these are more statements from the report here. By the way, atmospheric physicist James McDonald did his own detailed analysis of this case, and I'll read you a quote from McDonald when we get to the end here. When the F-61 approached within 12,000 feet, the target executed a 180-degree turn and dived under the F-61. Now, what I'm not sure about is how tight that turn was, but when you hear them say 180-degree turn, you certainly get the impression it was a rather tight turn. So that's really quite remarkable. The F-61 attempted to dive with the target, but was unable to keep pace. So right away, you've got this thing making a turn that the best fighter planes in the world, even better than the F-61, could not even think of doing. It dove much more rapidly than the F-61 could attempt to do. They're saying this object could go almost straight up or down out of radar elevation limits. So you've got radar that checks the altitude, and this thing went beyond the upper and apparently the lower limits, straight up and down. Anyone out there tell me what can do that? This aircraft seemed to be cognizant of the whereabouts of the F-61 at all times.
This is what a lot of reports say.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Right.
They don't know that, but it seems like that. In the other case that we're going to get into, that's something that they also said. It was as though that craft had something on board that was able to tell when something was getting close, and it would react immediately, like within a certain limit.
Yeah, it's uncanny.
Yeah.
Or seemingly uncanny. It was actually smarter than the pilots who were trying to close in on it, is really what it seems like. So I'll just continue and add a little bit more here. I'm glad you mentioned that. And this is a quote from the pilot. I'll get into him in a minute too. The aircraft immediately outdistanced us. So these types of statements, I think, are useful to keep in mind. The pilot's name, he was a first lieutenant, Oliver Hemphill. And he says here, the third target the third radar target, I should say, was spotted visually by myself. So here's where we get radar plus visual. And I love what he says here. I had an excellent silhouette of the target thrown against a very reflective undercast by a full moon. So you got great visibility, full moon. I realized at this time that it did not look like any type of aircraft I was familiar with. He did describe it. He actually said it looked like a rifle bullet, roughly speaking. And I did a little description here of a rifle. I actually took an image of a rifle bullet and played with it and then chopped off the ends. Look, I'm not very good with Photoshop. And
hey, but it helps. It helps to have any type of visual, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it had the kind of point that this is an actual 1940s rifle bullet. It may have been a little more rounded in front. But he says here, it was estimated to be about the size of a fighter aircraft, so ordinary size, but had neither discernible wings nor tail structures. It was somewhat bullet-shaped, tapered toward the rear, but with a square cut aft end. So I'm not sure if I did that right or not. It seemed to have a dark or dull finish. And these are just random pictures of conical or elongated shaped UFOs. We've seen many of these in many instances. So that's the kind of thing that they saw. Again, really not unlike the Tic Tac UFO, this type of a shape. And we don't have we've got a very incredible speed of 1,200 miles per hour. That's quite a bit lower than the Tic Tac's apparent speeds of 10,000 miles per hour or more. But it's still a pretty amazing speed.
Right.
And with amazing maneuverability that
and we have the pilot seeing it, and we have it being tracked on radar.
On the airborne radar. It actually wasn't tracked on the ground-based radar. There was a lot of clutter, apparently, ground clutter, which can happen. But these guys had a very clear vision, tracking of it on their airborne plus the visual.
Got it.
James McDonald, one of the great UFO researchers we've ever had, back in the 1960s, looked at this case with fresh eyes. He was not just a PhD, but his wheelhouse was atmospheric physics. This is really where he excelled in looking at these types of cases.
Thanks for watching this video. Click here to watch our playlist of short, credible videos covering all aspects of the UFO phenomena. And make sure you subscribe to catch the new content posted every week.